Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Hurley. I'm the chairman of the Heat Pump Association. It's delighted to speak here today at your 10th Congress of the Polish Heat Pump Technology Development Organization in Krakow. I wish I was with you today, but we're all digital in these days. So I've been asked to share our latest experience in the UK heat pump market. And we've been really working hard to challenge the barriers of uptake of heat pumps. So my presentation today is to focus on the heat pump market and the policy drivers that have been put in place here. So before I go on, I just want to give you a little bit of context of the UK market. So in the UK, 17% of greenhouse gases come from our homes we live in, 17%. And we have 27 million homes in the UK. A lot of them, the majority of them are not got very good energy efficiency. And 85% are heated by natural gas boilers. And the market for natural gas boilers is pretty static. It's around about 1.7 million gas boilers sold every year. So a gas boiler going in today will probably still be working well into the 2030s. So it's a real challenge. And in 2021, the actual market nearly doubled from around about 36,000 to 60,000. So that is a positive. It is growing, and we estimate that will probably be up to around about 100,000 this year. But you can see there's a long way to go to reach parity with gas boilers. So what has been pleasing is that we have had some recent policy announcements by the UK government. And in 2017, the UK government was the first country in the world to actually promote and actually in policy, in Parliament, to set a net zero target of 2050. And following on from that, in November 2020, the Prime Minister announced a target of 600,000 heat pumps, part of the Green Industrial Revolution. And 600,000 heat pumps is, if we're going to reach that net zero target by 2050, then we need to be installing that many by 2028 and around about 1 million by 2030. So you can say from 60,000 heat pumps, we've got a long way to go. One of the key changes for us in the UK market is last October, the government published what's called the Heat in Building Strategy. And in that document, there was a clear commitment demonstrated to use heat pumps as a low carbon solution in our buildings if we're going to achieve the net zero target. And we've never had that before. So heat pumps are the only heating technology now to actually decarbonising our homes. If we're going to reach the ambitious target of 2050 net zero target, we need to decarbonise our homes now, not wait for technologies which are unproven or not available today. Also, one of the key announcements also in 2021 was a new building regulations changed. And what came from that is that heat pumps being confirmed as the primary choice of heating new homes going forward. And by 2025, that basically gas boilers will be no longer allowed to be used in new build homes. So that's a real game changer as well. So why heat pumps? Heat pumps are, as don't have to heat pump conference tell you how heat pumps work. We all know they're a renewable energy, a low carbon energy. For every kilowatt of energy you use to a kilowatt of electricity you to run it, you can get 3 to 4 kilowatts of energy out of it. What is a big difference in the UK is that as a country, we've been pretty successful at decarbonising the generation of electricity. So over 10 years ago, 40% of our electricity was generated from coal, and today that is basically zero. And some of that has been exchanged to natural gas, but also in the last 10 years we've seen a massive increase in offshore wind, which represents now around about 35 to 40% of our electricity generation, which decarbonises the grid. So a heat pump going in today, as you can see on this slide, is around about 0.08 compared to a natural gas boiler of 0.2. Okay, but a gas boiler going in today will always be 0.2. The bonus with a heat pump is that the electricity grid will continue to decarbonise over the years. So a heat pump going in today will continue to reduce its carbon emissions over time, and we estimate that will be around about 95% lower in 2050, and it's around about 65% with a natural gas boiler today. So that is why the government see heat pumps as a major technology to decarbonise and reach the net zero targets. So how does the UK compare to other countries? And you can see on this slide, really poor at the moment. Okay, we've only 60,000 heat pumps. I think we're all aware that the Nordic countries and the Scandinavian countries have been very successful with high deployment in the countries like France, but also we now see in other European countries steadily grow. We've seen it in Holland, which is probably the most comparable country in Europe to the UK in respect of heating homes because it uses a lot of natural gas, but also countries like Germany are growing rapidly as well. And we're seeing heat pumps grow all over the UK. But as you can see there, the UK has still got a long way to go. But what we can do in the UK is learn key lessons from these countries to increase deployment of the heat pumps. And that's great being here today to share that with you. And hopefully we can all learn together to actually increase the penetration of heat pumps. So the heat pump trajectory, and this is one the Heat Pump Association has come up with. It's based on a slide which was produced by the Committee on Climate Change, which advises the government on strategy to reduce carbon. And as I said earlier, the Committee on Climate Change advised that we need to be installing, as you can see on this slide, over 1 million heat pumps by 2030 up to 2035 if we are going to achieve our carbon targets. But what we believe is with the change in the building regs that the new build houses is essential for the growth of the heat pump market over the next few years up to 2025, 2026. And this will be driven by this new building regulations. And to actually achieve these targets, then what is massively needed is an increase of retrofit in existing homes, is replacing gas boilers as they come to the end of life with a heat pump. But to achieve that target of the 600,000 heat pumps by 2028, there's going to be additional policy in place to achieve that. But the positive is that with new build, at least up to 2025, we will see a massive growth in heat pump deployment in those buildings. So why new builds? Okay, so independent research shows that heat pumps are already cost comparable with gas boilers in new build. And putting heat pumps in new build homes avoids the need for costly retrofit at a later date, which is a real positive. We shouldn't be building homes now. We need to retrofit later to achieve net zero targets. And it's easier to increase the deployment of low carbon heating new build compared to the retrofit market. And it helps build scale needed for net zero. It develops the supply chain, it develops the need for training installers, and that's what we need to get that going to actually move on to the biggest challenge, is the 27 million homes we need to retrofit from the mid 2025s up to into the 2030s. So, as I mentioned, the building regulations in the UK are being published this year in June, this month. And as I said earlier, we anticipate that heat pumps will become the primary heating technology for new homes. So in 2021, when it was published, the interim uplift will produce 31% less CO2 emissions compared to current standards. And heat pumps is a really, really good way of achieving this, okay, and very simply. And then from 2025, we've got what's called the Future Home Standard, which will come in. And this will ensure that the average home will produce 75% less CO2 emissions than current standards today. And by that time, heat pumps become critical to achieve that, and gas boilers will no longer be used. And the biggest change, and which we've been promoting as a heat pump industry and the Heat Pump Association, and one of our key messages, is to lower the flow temperature. And this is a real win for us in new build. So where a wet heating system is being newly installed, the system should be sized to a maximum flow temperature of 55 degrees or lower. So even if a heating system which isn't a heat pump goes into a new build, it will mean that it's heat pump ready for the future. Our next challenge is to try and promote that into the retrofit market, because to us, putting in a gas condensing boiler working at a flow temperature of above 70 degrees makes no sense at all, because it means that that condensing boiler doesn't condense. Okay, but it also means that you have to upgrade the radiators at some point to work at lower flow temperatures. So within our policies, our next challenge is to try and to get that 55 degrees maximum flow temperature into all heating systems of the future. And that's our biggest challenge. And if we're successful with that, it will be a big benefit to the retrofit market and decarbonate homes in the future. So the retrofit upfront costs are a big challenge to us. Gas boilers are, because it's an established market in the UK, the majority of gas boilers installed in the UK are actually manufactured in the UK. I would say 90% of gas boilers installed in the UK are manufactured in the UK. So because of that, and being an established market, and over 130,000 gas installers to install them, means that the costs are very competitive compared to heat pumps. And currently heat pump installers are only around about 4,000. So this is a big challenge. The government recognises this, and within the heat and building strategy, they commit to try and get parity between a gas boiler and the installation of a heat pump, but also the running costs as well. Because gas, even though we've seen gas prices increase recently, gas is still relatively cheaper, a lot cheaper than electricity. But what we have got in the UK is we have got government funding available up to 2025 to assist in this. And at the moment, that is £5,000 for an air source heat pump and £6,000 for a ground source heat pump. So that additional fund will help with the additional cost over the installation of a heat pump, which is very helpful, and we will see that will grow. But again, what we need to be looking at now is what happens after 2025. Okay, what we hopefully will see, and as any sales increase, that the costs come down, product costs may come down, but also the cost of installation come down. So increasing sales will hopefully achieve that. It's a challenge to get down to the cost of gas boilers, but this is a good start, and we're really pleased to see the government commit with funding to 2025, which we've never had before, which also gives confidence to installers wanting to upskill to install heat pumps from gas boilers. And what we've done as a heat pump association is to try and assist installers to look at heat pumps as an option. And one of the huge barriers in the UK has been how to train and transition existing boiler installers towards heat pumps. And we recognise this. So the HPA, the Heat Pump Association in the UK, one of the key areas of attention for them is developing a heat pump training course. And if we're going to achieve this, we need a significant growth in heat pumps to achieve the numbers required, the 600,000. So to achieve that 600,000, we need to train at least 26,000 installers by 2028 to meet those objectives. And we currently, as I say, we have around about 1,000 to 1,500 companies, which probably makes up around about 4,000 installers. So again, a long way to go. So what we've done as an association is developed our own training course, which is mapped against national educational standards in the UK. So it's an approved course, it's an approved qualification. They have to sit an exam. So it's a recognised qualification. And it means that the installer achieves a meaningful qualification. It means something to them. But again, some policy, we're trying to work on this. There is no assistance for installers to transition at the moment, and it's not so much the cost of the course, which is relatively competitive. As you know, with an installer, if they have to take 3 to 4 days to actually train, that means they're doing 3 to 4 days and not earning money, which could be a barrier to training more installers. So again, as an association, we're working hard to try and get some sort of assistance for early adopters, for early installers, some sort of voucher scheme to assist them with their training costs. And what was great when we launched the training course was that it was endorsed by a government minister, and which was great. You can see there he actually made a statement and really supported the course. So as I say, the course directly targets upskilling installers, and it was developed through HPA members, and our members represent around about 96% of the manufacturing base of heat pumps, and there's a wealth of knowledge in there. So all the members, the manufacturing members with that technical knowledge, helped to develop that course. But what also all those members have is that they have training facilities across the UK to actually train these installers, and our members, we can train if fully occupied, but we could train our members with their facilities. We could train up to 40,000 installers a year. So the ability is there to train the installers. We just need to get the installers to book on the courses. And that is a challenge we're working on at the moment. But we can see a lot of, with the current policy changes and announcements by government, installers are now looking at training courses. So we are seeing a lot of installers looking at new training courses and wanting to install heat pumps, which is positive. So still a long way to go, but it's really positive and we're going in the right direction. So thank you for allowing me to speak here. obviously I'm not live, so I can't answer any questions. But I'm sure if you have got questions, and through your organisation, if you want to send those questions on, I'd be more than happy to answer those and send them on individually if needed. And thank you again. Hope you have a great day. Hope it's sunny in Krakow there today. And again, thank you for listening to what we've been trying to do as an organisation in the UK. And hopefully you've learned something today, and hopefully we can learn together to increase the deployment of heat pumps in Europe. So thank you again, and have a great day.